Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hand. Feel the comfort.
So all started?
Me. Hi, I'm Rosemary Lachance, energy healer and spiritual teacher, and we welcome you to Healing Outside the Box. And my co-host?
Jimmy Driscoll, and this is our 150th show.
Wow.
Here we go.
150.
Nice number.
And we are...
Oh, you want to introduce
No,
our guest
not Jimmy,
first?
that.
Oh, okay. So we're the co-hosts of this thought-provoking series that is dedicated to providing you food for thought on information and answers to all modalities of alternative healing, spiritual development, animal welfare, and environmental concerns, and much, much more in the form of guest speakers who are experts in their field. So to find out where our shows are and playing in your area and when they're going to be playing, please contact the public service channel in your town to find out their website, giving you their address and phone number. And please check Rosemary's website, where you can find a list of all the towns and the air of the show under Healing Outside the Box. We will give you her website address at the end of the show. So please like her show on Facebook under Healing Outside the Box, where you can learn about and see pictures of our past guests and ask questions or to leave a comment.
All right, the title of our show is called How Can We Handle Loss and Grief? And our guest tonight is the wonderful Roland Comtois, spiritual medium. Hi, nice to have you here.
Thank you. Nice to be here with both of you.
Hey, Roland. Hi.
Okay, let me tell you a little bit about Roland. Roland Comtois is a nationally acclaimed inspirational speaker, spiritual medium, and radio host. He is the author of 2 books, And Then There Was Heaven, a memoir chronicling the author's personal near-death experience and the afterlife insights that define his life today. And the other book is 16 Minutes, a poignant, how to say that right?
Poignant?
Poignant, that's it. Personal journal about the last earthly moments between a mother and a son, and a guidebook through grief. Roland is a professional healer and spiritual medium with over 30 years experience, has a, how do you say that,
Gerontological nurse.
Okay, thank you. Reiki master, metaphysical teacher, and grief specialist. His expertise extends from the physical to the spiritual, as he shares healing modalities and messages that nurture and balance mind, body, and soul. His mission is to help people find comfort in life in spite of loss, show them how to move beyond grief with love and hope, and to pass on the message that heaven and eternal love are real and always close at hand. He is the founder of the TalkStream spiritual radio show and the After Loss Expo, now in its 9th year.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
wonderful. You do so much wonderful work.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate being here with both
Oh,
of
we
you.
love having
Thanks.
you here.
Yeah.
We just love it. The first question we're going to ask you is, well, do you want to explain again how you got into this? We've had you on the show before. If you want to do that briefly, and then we'll get
Sure.
into the questions. How you?
Well, for me, the journey of getting messages and telling stories started when I was 10 years old. And I felt the presence of my mother after she passed away. And here I am, 43 years later, still telling the story that love is everlasting. And I just go on the road, tell the story that right here, right now, they're present with us.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. All right, so the first question then is, what should we focus on to help us during our mourning period?
Well, one of the things I wanted to share with you is that grief is really, it just holds you hostage. To see the signs and see the messages and feel the energy and to take the steps forward through our grief, we really have to be present for the grief. We have to acknowledge it. We have to work through it. I'm not the kind of person that says when you're grief-stricken, walk around it and go the other way. I really think you have to come into it and make those discoveries. I am not the guy that believes that you can hold back someone. I think what holds us back is the idea that grief is what holds us back. It keeps us kind of stagnant and in place at a particular time in our lives. I've met thousands of people whose family members have passed tragically in very bad situations, but the fact is, their grief is what holds them. The grief is what holds them from moving forward.
Yes, it's true.
It is. It keeps you still. It keeps you in bed, and it keeps you not living the life you're supposed to live. In all the years that I've been giving messages, I've never heard the spiritual world say, I don't want you to get out of bed anymore, and I don't want you to not eat anymore. I want you to live. I want you to love. I want you to find your way through whatever the grief is.
That's what they tell you up there.
It's what I know. I mean,
Yeah.
every message I've ever received has been about love and the continuity of that love.
So you must have some hard shells to crack then. Sometimes when you have people that go in there that are just like, I mean, there's a person that I know who lost, she lost her husband. She lost her husband almost 10 years ago. And to this day, she still talks about it. She wants to join him.
Yeah.
She's just, she runs the loop.
Yes.
And by running that loop, I mean, it's very tiresome. It's tiresome to the people all around her.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the thing that we can do for her is just stand by her side, maybe gently move her forward, maybe give her opportunities to express her grief in a way that's healthy and healing for her. I've met people too, 25, 30 years past their losses, are still in that space. And
Wow,
and
25, 30
I'll
years.
never forget this one woman I met. She came up to me just like you. She said, I'm really sad about my husband, and I've been missing him. And she goes on to tell me 25 years later, she's still in that pain.
Wow.
That pain, that ache, that unsettledness is what holds us here. And maybe that does for that woman. Or maybe this is how she deals with her loss, right? I mean, I'm not here to tell you, your listeners, or anyone who hears my voice, this is the way you should grieve.
No.
We all grieve individually. It's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual. What we can do for each other is stand by each other's side, be a source of support and help, try not to judge, and just allow the experience to come full circle.
It's like, from what you're telling me and from what you say for people who grieve and continue this, it's almost like they need to understand something. They're trapped inside a box where they just can't get out of that mode. I remember, my parents, they've both passed, and they were married over 50 years, and and they had their times and they had their bouts, and there were bad times and good times. And when my mother passed first, my father was so distraught that, I remember him saying this when she was laid out, that my father was like, I was supposed to go first. I was supposed to go first. He was angry about that. But then after that, all he ever remembered were the great times. Which kind of boggled some family members, like, but what about this? He goes, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So that's all superficial. I would imagine in your treatment with people is what you bring out the essence of the person that has passed to help you heal.
It's exactly what happens. And, I think it's important to stay in those memories that are positive and loving and uplifting. I don't think we're supposed to be down and out.
Right.
I just don't think that's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
Grief is tough. It's tough.
It is.
It hurts. It hurts every part of you. And I can only imagine, and even I don't want to, but I can only imagine, what your father went through with the loss of someone he loved, whether they had good days or bad days.
Right.
The essence of who they were, there had to be some energy of love there, and maybe that's what he held on to during his grief experience.
So there's an underlying question here. When we go through that grief, when we go through that kind of period of time, there must be, well, I ask it, and I'm sure other people ask it to themselves too when they lose a loved one. Well, what was their purpose here in the first place? Why am I here? You know what I mean?
Yes.
What, out of all the chances and of all the things and the elements, why am I here?
Oh, I'm convinced we have a purpose. I am convinced each person has a destiny. I'm convinced that this moment is part of your destiny. You being here, us being together, I think it's part of the story.
Right.
It's another chapter or another page in the book of our lives and our journeys.
Exactly.
Everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a purpose.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Now, when you do contact their loved ones for them and give them the messages, does that help them to overcome the grief?
Yeah, I should say to you that I don't contact anybody.
They contact you.
I sit there and
I'm
I
sorry.
speak to the spiritual place. I say a prayer. I've been saying the same prayer for 20 years. and I say, what message must I send? And then I listen, and I feel, and I hear, and I experience the power of that message. And when that message is delivered, something happens, right? The person looks at me and says, you know what? Maybe my loved one is carrying on. Maybe they haven't left me in the spiritual sense. Maybe they're still part of me. See, the only thing I'm trying to share with you is that love is everlasting, and the power of that love is stronger than the grief. That the power of that love has something that allows us to see each other and to feel each other. And a message comes and something happens. I was at may I tell you a little story?
Sure.
I was at an event recently. There was a man sitting there. He had been married for 61 years.
Wow.
And he desperately missed his wife. He had to let her go. He had to send her off. There was nothing else he could do. And I gave him 4 or 5 words. That was all I gave him. And in that moment, I saw his face relax. I saw his shoulders relax. He came up to me after the event and he said, you know, it's okay. I'm okay right now because I know that she's okay. And that moment brought him an amazing amount of peace.
Can I ask you?
Yes. Anything.
Okay. All right. How did you get to that place that you can do what you do and help others?
It's been my life mission. You know, I'm a nurse by profession. I'm a father of a 23-year-old girl.
Yep.
But my whole life has been about the possibility. Is love real? Is the love so real that it can last beyond the physical experience? And so as a kid at 10 years old, I had this discovery. At 17 years old, I started hearing those messages in my head. I started passing them on to my friends. At 23 years old, I would be with my nursing friends and give them messages and so forth and so on. The thing that if I'm good at anything, I'm good at listening. I'm good at listening to that sound, to that feeling, to that moment when the power of that love is present. You know, I teach classes, right? And this woman, she came to the class and she said, you know, I tried everything you did. I tried everything you taught us for 6 days. Nothing worked. I looked at her and said, it's going to take a lot longer than 6 days.
What do you teach in your class?
I teach people how to get quiet, how to honor the silence, so that when that voice comes, when that message comes, when that amazing sign comes, you recognize it as a gift.
You know, that's hard.
It is hard.
That's because of technology.
It's hard.
It's where we are now. It's what we have. I mean, everyone's looking down at their phone. I mean, it's just...
How hard is it? It's a choice. You made a choice
right,
to
it's a
look at the
choice.
phone. I mean,
Yes.
Right.
let's make the
That's
choice
right.
on the other side of this coin. And
Well,
Yep.
right. I
Exactly.
mean, that is something that you really need to break the mold with a lot of people.
you're
with
right.
The majority of
You're
people.
Yeah.
absolutely right.
The
You know what I
mind is
mean?
always going.
Look, you know,
going.
people come up to me and they say, I want a message. I need a message. I've got to hear from my father, right? And I said, well, what have you done so far? Well, I haven't done much. I've been too busy.
Exactly.
My life is this, my life is that.
Exactly.
It takes an effort
Yeah.
on your behalf to take a step forward. And when you take that step, let me share something with you.
Sure.
When you take that step forward and you get that first sign, that first message, you will never be the same. Because you'll come to understand that your whole life had meaning and purpose. You'll come to understand that the people that you've loved in your life are still part of your essence somehow. I'm not the guy that believes that this physical body defines who I am. It's something in me. It's that spark inside of me, the essence of who I am, that defines who I am. That's the part of me that carries on. That's the part that communicates, that sends a message, that sends a sign. Can I tell you another story?
Sure.
This just recently happened. It's one of those mind-boggling moments that when it happens, you say to yourself, okay, I'm not nuts. So there I am. I always sit in front of these purple papers. I write the messages I hear after a time of prayer and meditation. And there was a message that I recorded on June 14th, 2014. It was a message from a son who had passed to a mother desperately waiting for a sign. It had a picture of a house and a butterfly, and it said, Mom, I know that every day you go out and you look for the butterflies in the backyard, and a big elaborate story on this one purple paper. I'm at an event in Massachusetts, and a woman said to me, I know you're going to find this strange, but I had a dream the other night. And in the dream, my son showed me a purple paper with a yellow butterfly in the backyard
I got
and
goosebumps.
told me to come and see you because you have a message for me. I reached into the pile of papers. I held the paper up like this, and on the bottom right-hand corner, it had a big heart all colored in yellow with a yellow butterfly. In that moment, that woman knew. Now, she and I hadn't met. This was June 14th. I met her 3 days ago. How
Wow.
was it that those months had passed for us to have that one moment to happen?
Yeah, you're right.
Because it was divinely orchestrated,
Yep.
because it was synchronistic, because she needed help with her grief, because her son's trying to send her a sign.
Absolutely.
That there's power in that moment for that lady and for all others who get messages.
Okay, I'm going to put this question in here, which has been asked me to ask you. Do you feel that there's life after death?
I'm convinced there's life after
Okay.
death. I'm convinced that when it's my last moment here, I will leave this physical experience. I've had a near-death experience. I've talked about it before
That's
here.
right, you did.
And I write about it in my first book. I left here, went there, saw something magnificent and incredible. And I know there's something else.
Okay.
I know it. Can I tell another story?
Of course, as many as you like.
Man with many stories. Go
I have a
right
lot of
ahead.
stories. I could talk. I can talk.
Oh, yeah, that's wonderful.
You know, my mother, she was a skeptic on some level about all of this, and she passed almost 3 years ago to this day, and her passing was very traumatic for me for some reason, and people came up to me and said, well, what are you crying for? Well, I said, I'm a 50-year-old kid that just lost the one person who understood me. And so the story is, my mother was skeptical about this stuff. She was cautious about this stuff until the 50th day before she passed. I walked into the
Wow.
room, and she said, Roland, you're not going to believe this. I said, what, Mom? She said, they all came to me last night. They told me that everything was going to be all right. And then she listed her brothers and sisters' names. She listed what she felt. She described to a T what she experienced, and then she said this. I don't want you to worry, though, she said, because 5 minutes before I go, they will already be here, and they will take me to the next place, to the other side. My mother never talked that language until she had that moment that defined it for her.
How wonderful.
It was a beautiful
Oh,
moment.
God, how wonderful, and wonderful for you. Oh,
Yes, I get
so
to carry
wonderful.
that with me.
Yeah.
You know,
Really and truly.
You know, there's a book called You Are Gods, and in the book, the author says that each of us has an essence or an energy or a vibration. Our thought, our actions, our memories remain a part of us even after we die. And if that is the case, then those memories, that action, that energy, those thoughts, those feelings, those experiences remain a part of who we are. I mean, haven't you had a moment where you were at the store and you met someone across the hall and you swear you've known them?
Yes.
You know, why did that happen? Was there something about that moment that you were reliving, that you were experiencing? Was it the essence of something or the energy of something?
Right. I had read somewhere where I have met people and instantly felt
Yeah.
I've known them for years.
Yes.
And I read that an explanation which sounded good to me. When that happens, it means that on the other side of life, they're from our spiritual family, so to
Sure.
speak, our spiritual, and they've come down for whatever, maybe not to be with me, but just for something. And that's a recognition.
Sure.
So it's all to tell us that there's life. There's life after.
And I think when we understand that there's life after death, we understand that it's okay to grieve and it's okay to move forward because our connections remain.
And that brings us to a question I've wondered. Does mourning our loved ones hold them back because they're sad for us, because they don't want to leave us in this state? Do we hold them back by this?
Look, you know, mourning is a natural human process.
Right.
You can't get out of it.
Right.
I don't care who you are. I don't care what you know. You know, I know about the afterlife. I know about all these things. I still grieved, mourned, and felt this pain inside of
yeah.
me. I don't think mourning holds
Well, I would say
them back.
excessive, yeah.
You know, but I think that when your grief is not addressed and not dealt with, I think it holds you back. They're fine. I think it holds you back from really seeing the total picture of what your life is and what it could be after someone passes away.
I lost I lost my best friend 2 years ago from colon cancer, and he died at an early age of 50. So, but at the wake, see, this is how it's all relative, why people are in our lives. Like, we were roommates. He was a bass player in my band way back in the day. I mean, and all the friends we all gathered around, we're like, oh my God, this guy lived his life the way we all should live our lives. And this wasn't like at the very end when he knew he was terminal. No, his whole life, he lived to explore, and he lived to, to move on, to listen, to do things, to be different. And he never got locked into something. And we discussed that as a unit, as all the friends, we all got together and go, oh my God, that's how everyone should live their lives, the way Mike lived his life. So that goes back to what I asked you before. I said before, people have a purpose.
Yes.
That purpose when they come into our lives and when they leave. And I see that as far as the grieving process too. Some of us get it when someone passes. You know what? I remember how they were, where some people just can't let that go because, like you say, that loss.
Yeah, that loss is too painful. Someone asked me recently, how do you have a good death? And the answer is, live the best life.
That's
Correct.
a good
Live
question.
your life fully invested in every single moment of your life. And don't let one moment go by without truly being part of your life experience and truly embrace your life. The ups, the downs, the difficulties, the pain, the suffering, those are all magnificent little teachers, all guiding us towards our destined path.
Don't worry about dying. Worry about living.
Yeah, live.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, live
Right.
joyfully, peacefully, happily. Live.
Right.
Live to the fullest.
Right.
And your friend was an amazing and is an amazing example of that philosophy.
Yeah.
To live that life, to
Yeah.
be that person.
Yeah.
What a teacher he was to you.
And I was amazed too, if we talk about someone who's going to pass, if we're with that person that we know is going to pass, whether they're on their deathbed or something, and you get the chance to have a moment with them, and you say, how are you feeling? And it's amazing how strong he was as far as, we never discussed spirituality. He never talked about that, but the way he felt, he was very, this is the way it is. I have a dull ache, but I'm gonna go. Gotta go. I'm gonna go.
I got to get going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important to be, just as a thought here, it's important to be as compassionate and loving and kind and caring to our loved ones days before, weeks before, months before, right? Every single day of our lives, we should be invested as your friend was invested in his life. What a lesson he's given you.
Absolutely.
What a lesson. Actually, what a lesson he has given you. He gave you something that profoundly changed you. He's given you something. And I think that you are coming into understanding the totality of your experience with him. So I have a feeling that he's going to be sending you messages, and lots of them, reminding you to be so invested in your experiences too. In my head, here's how it works. In my head, I almost feel like he's giving you one of these, right? Hey, like this, got this kind of a look, and he says he wants me to say he depended on you. You were a good guy. You were good. You were good for each other in your life together. So and when he's coming, he's kind of cool about the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
He's not hindered by anything. Not now, not then, right? And so when I feel him, it's you didn't ask me to give you a message, but something's happening. I can feel this energy inside of me. But the story is, you did things for him when you were younger. You helped him to see things that he couldn't see either. His life for you and his purpose and your relationship and your connection was to remind you that you belonged somewhere, that you belonged connected to someone. I feel him. But when he comes, he's like, hey, yeah, he's got kind of a charismatic
Absolutely.
energy, and he's not quiet. He's not going to come through. He's going to make his way, and he's going to bring his love and his energy. He really appreciates you, really. This I know. Sorry to divert, but
No, no,
That's
that's
great.
okay.
No,
there's
that's
a
fine.
lot of energy about him, a lot of energy about him, and
Yeah.
your connection and your relationship with him. Can I say one thing about messages?
Yes.
You want to get a message from your loved ones? It's okay to think about them. It's okay to feel them, but feel them and think about them peacefully. Not when they were in their deathbeds.
Correct.
Not when they were suffering. You know, I think about my mother, right? When I took her to the ocean one day, and she was in her late 60s. She only died at 71 years old. And we went to the beach, and she got her shoes stuck in the ocean, and we were trying to pull her out of the sand. I laugh now when I think about that, and it makes me feel full. It makes me feel settled. So it's good to remember them. It's good to laugh about the things you've enjoyed together with each other. And it's absolutely imperative to take a step through your grief.
I lost my son at an early age, but it was sudden. Okay? Chop. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye.
Yes.
That always felt that way.
Yes.
That's a different kind of grieving.
It is a
Took me about
much-
4 years, even though I knew everything about spirituality. It still took a
It's
long
a
time.
much
Yeah.
different kind of loss.
Yeah.
It's, you know, grief, there are all kinds of compartments in our heart, I think. And this mother-son compartment or place, and that kind of loss is, as I don't know it because I haven't had that experience,
Right.
but I can say from the people that I've met,
Right.
it is excruciating because I see it in their faces. You know, and I want to take your hand and embrace you and hold you through your grief. Because there's nothing I can say to you or any other mother or father. You know, I can't take your pain away. But what I can do, and what we can do for each other, is stand side by side, totally connected and present with each other. That's what I know. You know, there's almost a sense of, like this with your son, and gone.
Yeah. In
Like
his
this.
sleep. Yeah.
It was this very deep, this weird movement through his chest. Oh, actually, I'm a little bit dizzy now talking about him for some reason. So whatever happened to him,
He was in his sleep.
it was like this and gone. He didn't suffer. He didn't have any moments of suffering. He had a very quick passing to the next place. Well, everything is changing now. You see, this is what happens. You start thinking about them and something happens. It's like they're right here.
Oh.
Could your son be right here? Could your friend be right there? Could my mother be right here? Could she be right in my heart still? I think the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a resounding yes, that they're still part of us, that they're still with us.
So do I. I do. So then you think we'll see our loved ones again?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I am
Oh,
convinced
you know so. Very good.
I don't fight at my age, I'm not negotiating what I know any longer.
Uh-huh.
I know what I
That's
know.
good. That's
You know
good.
what you know.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So why have someone who says, don't go to a guy like that. You already know what you know. Why give your power away to something that you don't believe in? If you believe in it, then go and make a connection and allow yourself to grieve and allow yourself to move through your pain and suffering. Allow yourself. Give yourself a chance.
You're right.
You know,
You're
give yourself a
absolutely right.
chance. I want to say to your listeners, give yourself a chance to grieve, to walk through your grief, to breathe, to live again, and to know that messages are present. Because you won't be the same when they come. You won't.
Yeah.
You'll feel stronger. You'll feel settled. You'll even feel alive again when those messages come. That's what I know. It's what I feel so deeply in me. It is. It is.
Okay. What do you think about animals grieving? Do you think animals grieve?
Man, if you would have asked me 11 years ago, I wouldn't have had an answer. But I have now had pets for 10 years, and more than they're grieving. So the answer is yes to that they grieve, but they're so sensitive to where I am. You know, I remember coming home from an experience that I was very overwhelmed. My dog didn't leave my lap. Understood that I was feeling something. So, yes, absolutely, without a doubt, that they grieve, that they understand. There's a sensitivity, I should say, to what we're experiencing or what we're going through.
I believe animals can see spirits also.
Oh, yeah.
I often see my cat looking like this around the room, and I'm saying, is there a bug in the middle of winter? No bug. Looking, and then running around and playing and jumping around. I say, okay, somebody's playing with you now.
What are they really seeing?
Yeah.
You know?
They're playing, and whoever it is playing with them, and
Yeah, what
running
are
on
they
the bed
seeing?
and jumping and running all around and sitting on my lap and then going. And then he's gone again.
We do the same thing. In the corner of our eye, we see something, we look.
You're
we
right.
do the same thing. We have the same reactions.
You're absolutely right, yes.
You know, you have a feeling that comes over you. You react to the feeling. You're sensitive to the energy. But then, in your human brain, you begin a negotiation. You sit there, you ponder what that could be. Though days ago you asked for a sign or a message and something comes, and you start to lose ground with what's coming. So
That's
we're
true.
sensitive to them too, as they are.
That's true. We do that. We try to rationalize.
We do.
I don't want to rationalize, but we do it.
We do. We do it. You know, you asked about purpose. If you have people who watch your show who need support, there's a great quote from the Bible, Corinthians 12:4, that says every person has a gift. Every person has some kind of contribution to humanity. Everybody. You know, you read all the religions of the world, they say that we have a purpose, we have a
Right.
place. Maybe the animals do.
Oh, I'm sure.
Maybe we do for each other.
Yeah.
Maybe the fact that we're here today, there's a reason for that. Maybe that one person watching your show right now needed to be here and is present for whatever this experience brings them.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Hmm.
What do you think?
I'm thinking. I'm listening.
So, when we pass over, do they see us? They see us. Do we see our spirit after we pass over? Do they you say they kind of help us sometimes,
Yeah.
or they'll see us in the afterlife?
Yeah, you know, a woman came up to me recently and she said, please don't tell me that when I get there, I am not going to be able to kiss my husband one more time. And I thought, well, that is pretty profound, because obviously the physical body is for the physical experience. There, when we come together face to face, soul to soul, heart to heart, what we see and what we feel is the remnants of who we were, who we are, and we carry that energy forward. When I had my near-death experience, as I went into that space, I saw my grandmother. I saw her with my intuition. I saw her with my telepathic whatever. I saw something and I felt something. So I know that we will see them. I know that they will recognize us. I know it.
You know it.
I know it. You know that feeling? There's a feeling I get when I hug my daughter, right? I love that kid so much, right? There's that feeling inside. That feeling is irreplaceable.
Yeah, I know.
It's irreplaceable. You
I
can
have
go
a
to that
daughter,
place.
yeah.
That place does something for you. When we pass, that same embrace, that same energy gets reactivated, and we're reconnected one more time for the next step of our journeys.
It's true.
That's how I see it. I mean, that's how I see it. Not everybody certainly agrees with that perspective, and that's the way it should be. Everybody has their own way of looking at things. Everybody has their own way of seeing things. So that's
Yeah.
perfect.
You're absolutely
That's the way
right.
it should be.
The connection of animals and human beings, and how it entails, like you just talked about, you know, how that works, how that works. I mean, why is it there's such a connection when an animal passes, and how a human grieves over an animal, and how animals grieve over humans,
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's because we have an attachment or a bond, and we somehow are thinking that bond is no longer exists, when in fact, what I say and what I teach is that bond is still an aspect or a part of you, and it remains a part of the journey. It remains a part of the experience.
I went to visit some people that I met for the first time, some friends, and they had a couple of cats. And the white one was out there, and I think she's blind in one eye, and I was petting her. And then there was a black one. I was trying to get her attention. Then I saw an orange one run around, and I said, "You have another cat?" She said, "What? Yeah, the black one." I said, "No, you have an orange cat." And they looked at each other, and they said, "We had an orange cat. She passed on."
My
So,
gosh.
well, she's still hanging around.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
I love
They
that.
were so happy. I'm so glad to know that, da, 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 da. I said, oh, yeah, the animals have life after, too, just like us,
I believe it. I totally
That's
believe
great.
it. I believe that we carry on. There's
Yeah.
something beyond here. You mentioned something about the telescope, right?
Oh, we talked about this before
Yeah.
the show, and I was just like, how things now in perspective, how things have changed 30 years or 40 years to now. And I was having dinner last night with a friend of mine, and we actually started the conversation about, like, life is such a mystery. And what is it going to bring to me tomorrow? When you think you've got a hold on it and you think you have an idea what it's all about, something shifts and it's just like, well, I guess my ideas weren't right. My point was, we're talking about, I says, the Hubble telescope now that reaches so far beyond, and things that they see that we can't even perceive, of how many more planets and how our galaxy is, there's got to be more than just this little speck, which we are, in that huge.
It has to be.
There's got to be, and it just brings everything else back into perspective of just like, okay, are we insignificant? Are we significant? I mean, how do we equate into all of this?
Yeah.
Is it so complex? I don't mean to get so deep in the show, but I mean, this is something that we're talking about over a beer. You know what I mean? It can be so complex, and at the same time, if we think we know, but we don't know. And that mystery, like that, the 50th day, it all comes together for some people.
Right.
Have you ever run across, I'll ask you this, have you ever run across an atheist, someone who doesn't believe in you,
Oh yeah,
or just
every day
stonewalls you?
people are calling me names. I mean,
Really?
every single day of my life. And the more public you are with your story or your truth or your knowing, there's people who say that it's a bunch of baloney. There are people that, I remember my old publicist once said she received a phone call and said that she was the voice of the devil, meaning I was the devil. I mean, so that exists because everyone has a different perspective about the experience, but I'm not going to waver, as they will not waver, on what the truth is. I'll make discoveries moving forward. You'll make discoveries moving forward, and let's just kind of come to a place and be peaceful with each other.
Well, I think that's a great thing, because I mean, when you meet someone on the other spectrum, whether they're atheist or they don't believe in what you feel, I mean, this is something that you have a talent for. I mean, since 10 years old, you begin to grow, and this is where you are now. You have someone else from their atheistic point of view. Is that right? Atheistic?
Yeah,
Does that sound
good
right?
word.
Yeah, sounds fine.
Boy, I
Another word.
sound
Yeah,
smart,
it's good.
don't I? Anyway, you find that middle of the road. That's that spectrum. I mean, I think it's great when someone would question you about things like that. And you give them the best answer that you can.
I'm probably one of the most skeptical people. So when someone comes up to me and says, hey, guess what? I dreamt about your mother last night. I'm like, yeah, okay. Let me feel that out. Let me hear what you have to say and make that discovery
Feel it
within
out, yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
I'm not here to push myself onto you, nor should you onto me. Let's just meet in the middle and have a conversation. A peaceful, nice, loving conversation.
Right.
Let's not go at each other, because I'm not going to have an argument and I'm not going to defend. I'm just going to share what I understand. The other thing I want to say to you is I don't think, and I certainly don't believe, that anybody who's searching for signs or messages needs to come see a channeler medium person. And if someone told you the only way to get a message is through a channeler, they lied to you.
Correct.
It's a lie. You don't need the middleman. Your people talk to you. Your son talks to you. My people talk to me. And until you make that discovery for yourself, my mission is simply to say, open your heart, just listen. Just listen. Close your eyes and just listen. Just be here. Maybe you too will start to have this inner dialogue of some kind.
So you have some form of meditation that you do every day.
Yes. Every day, I go into that space, I sit in that place, I sit quiet, I try to get away from my phone, I try to get away from my computers, and I try not to answer I just try to sit there and be in that space. Not for the intention of getting a message, for the intention of giving myself a chance to reconnect and
So
be
you're just saying to
present.
plug in.
Just to be there. If a message comes, great, but it's a great way to really take care of the spiritual self by being in that space. I put on nice music, I sit and pray, I meditate, I chant prayers, I do things that support my overall spiritual health.
Morning or evening?
Not any specific time. Most of the time is between 1 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Really?
Yeah, because that's
Why?
my transition time of day from work to getting ready to be the channeler.
Oh.
So there's that phase during my time, my day. And then at night, I do the same thing before I go to sleep, the same process of just kind of reconnecting, quieting down, getting settled, recognizing what's on my mind and worrying me, trying to let it go and release it and just be
Process it.
present.
Right.
It's a process that I go through.
Kind of a way of opening up and connecting with the universe and who you really are
Yes.
and what you are, I find that the times when I will get a message, and I know that there's your angels and guides, teachers, animals, they're all trying to give you messages all the time, whether they're messages of learning or just telling you something, or a loved one wants to tell you something. And I find that the only time they really get through is when I'm peaceful in my mind.
Yes.
And not just meditating, but I'm in a peaceful place in my mind, and like you said, accepting and whatever. When I'm upset about something, no meditation is going to help me. I have to work it out and be peaceful, and then when I meditate, things come, or they just come when you're walking down the street. Right?
It just comes.
Yeah.
But you have to get into a space. I mean, you
Right.
have to, not necessarily for the communication with
No,
the
just-
spiritual world, for your own
Right.
spiritual wellness. You've got to find that place. You sit, I tell my students, designate a time and a space, a place where you can just go in that place and make an inner connection. And then it takes you further, I'm sure. And it does for me and many people.
Have you ever run across a situation where when you begin to channel, excuse me, you begin to channel and you're getting almost something like, it's like haywire, you're getting such a rapid message, or you're getting confusion from somebody on the other side and trying to just yell out to tell this other person, take it easy, everything is cool, everything is all right. Like, have you ever had any instances like that?
Every day. Every day.
Really?
Every day. When I'm getting ready to give a message, you know that feeling when you're at the mall, it's 4:59 p.m., Christmas Eve,
Right.
and you forgot to buy one gift. You get to the mall, you get there's people everywhere, there's anxiety, there's rushing, there's yelling, there's screaming, there's kids crying, there's long lines of there's all this energy.
Right.
Well, all that energy exists when someone's trying to give a message.
Does that exhaust you?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's tiring,
Yeah.
That's why I do the best I can, taking care of my body, my mind, my soul, my spirit. That's why I sit and meditate and sit quietly, because those things help me to be the channeler
Right.
of these very divine and sacred messages. The messages are not always about, hey, you should see how nice heaven is. It's not always about that. Sometimes the message is, stop. Just take a break. You've been trying too hard. I see you sitting there at home, whatever I'm saying to somebody. So sometimes it's not just about the validation that there's an afterlife, but the validation that we're struggling. Some of us struggle through whatever we're going through, and it's like a little voice is saying something. Can I share another story?
Sure.
I was in Rhode Island, and in Rhode Island, I was at an event, and there were 50 people in the room. And there was a young girl whose mother was murdered 11 years prior to our meeting. And she was haunted by that experience. And she couldn't think straight, obviously. Couldn't breathe. She couldn't do anything. We had a conversation, and I said, whatever I said to her was a tiny little thing. I said it. I gave her a message about her mother. And then I began to give her this very humongous story about what she was going through in her life at that moment. That girl cried so hard. I've never seen anybody cry that hard. She understood that her mother recognized the turmoil of where she was in that moment, and she had hope. She had hope. We need hope.
Yeah, we do need hope.
Well, I think
Hope is the strength of the soul, I read
It's the
once.
fuel. It's
Yep.
the fuel of our soul, our energy. We need hope.
So you try to open that up in a person who's grieving. You
Yes.
give them that hope. I mean, I think they come to you for hope.
Yes.
You know, really. I mean, it's just like, I need answers.
Yeah.
And it's so funny about that whole thing. They need that thing right away.
Yeah.
Because you got that phone. You've got. We're now in it. We're now in a civilization where we have it instant gratification.
Always.
Bing, 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 bing,
Yeah.
bing, bing,
It's
bing.
true, yeah.
Like you just said
Okay.
earlier.
And that's not really how the spiritual world works.
No.
No.
You know, they don't send us text messages though. When the message comes, it's that profound. It's that instantaneous. But we begin our emotional journey with a message, right? We start to look at it, as I said earlier, we start to get involved with it. Why not just take the message for what it is and let it go? Just let
Yeah.
it be. Let it be what it's supposed to be.
I want to share two short things with you. The messages can come in other forms, and I know this because I was one day, it was Mother's Day, and I was grocery shopping. And I just finished, and I was getting ready to walk out of the store, and I'm thinking to myself, I saw the people around the store and everything. I thought to myself, you know, if my son was alive, he would have wished me Happy Mother's Day. How I wish he was. And as I walked by this rack of cards, they were all neat, except one card was sticking up, and it said, "From your son, Happy Mother's Day, Mom."
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh my, I know this is a message.
My God.
Somehow he got it up there for me to see, because every
You know,
other card was perfect.
It doesn't matter how it got there.
No. Yeah, right.
It doesn't matter what happened that made that moment happen. But maybe everybody who was part of that card getting mixed up were all summoned by your son. It was bigger. It's so much bigger than that. What a gift that was
Wasn't
for
that
you.
great?
I
said,
love that.
Thank you, MD. Thank you so much.
That's a huge gift.
And another way I got a message, it was not too long ago. I was in line, waiting in line, cars, we were on the street, and I was looking at something in my book because I had to wait for the light. And the light had changed, and when I started to go, and all of a sudden, I was still looking like this, but my foot had come off the brake, and all of a sudden I heard in my head, "Stop, stop, stop," just like that. And I looked up, and there was the car. It didn't move. I almost hit it.
Wow.
I was like this close,
Wow.
this close to hitting him. But I heard that, "Stop, stop, stop," just like that. So you never know.
You know,
never
everything,
know.
it's so much bigger, I think, than what we
Yeah.
truly understand. Like you just said, is it just a speck of the entire experience? I do believe, though, that we are an important aspect, each of us, an important aspect of the entire picture. That we're all a thread in the tapestry of the universe, and we all are part of it. And without your contribution, then that tapestry would look different. And without mine and yours and whomever, it wouldn't look the same. So I appreciate your theory on the Hubble
Yeah.
and how that all relates to the
I
entire
think it
picture.
does. I think it does relate to the big picture.
Yeah.
For some reason, you know, it's just like it's vast. It's huge, and we're there.
Yeah.
And I can't believe it. Like, and a lot of other people that I know. I mean, because we kick this whole idea around. You know, there's got to be something else.
Yeah.
You know, I've asked doctors, do you believe in life after death? Do you believe in reincarnation?
Yes.
You know, and I've had doctors say, yeah, I do. You know. Other doctors will laugh or just,
Yes.
well, great topic of discussion, huh?
Yeah.
That's why we're here today, right?
It is. It's a topic of discussion, and what you said before, I wanted to tell you, you're right about when we talk and discuss, we shouldn't try to convince other people of our beliefs. We shouldn't let them try to convince
No.
us. Have a discussion.
Yeah.
A discussion is nice, especially on those things,
Yeah.
because people really have a curious mind about it.
They do, and the curiosity is heightened. Humanity is more aware or ready to explore the ideas that there's something else. You know, there's more of a conversation now. Actually, I've noticed since 9/11 that there's more of a conversation. It's escalated, and you know there are more men at my events now than there were previously. And not to say men are not open. It just takes us a little longer to get there, but men are there, and a lot of people are coming to the experience, really wanting to explore the idea that love is everlasting. Simple. That's simple.
That's true.
I think we make it a little more complicated than what it is. That's all.
I think you're right. Do you think that we begin to grieve when we know our loved ones are sick and they're getting ready to pass on? You
I
think
do. I do believe that. I believe grief starts before they pass. That, you know, they can't drive their cars anymore, and they aren't doing the things they used to do, and they're looking different and sounding different. You know, I write in my book a mother who had a young child who was very ill. She grieved long before her child passed away. A daughter whose father has Alzheimer's disease grieves long before that father passes. And when that father passes, she grieves even more. And days after his passing, she grieves even more until her grief is somehow complete in its healing. I don't think that time heals the wounds, though. I don't. I think the only thing that heals the wounds is love, is the constant reminder that love is everlasting, the memory of those love that we shared with each other, and the power of what happens between two people. That essence and that energy is what really, truly holds us and moves us forward.
I have a friend whose father is getting up there in age, and she's crying to me, telling me that, oh, you know, my dad, you know, I can't bear the thought of it when he passes away. I think of it now and it makes me cry. Which, I mean, totally relates with you, where you just say, hey, listen, don't cry. I mean, because the love and the bond you have for your father so much, I mean, enjoy it right now, because that, I agree with you, is going to transcend in the days to come after he passes.
Yes. You know,
that'll heal you.
You're right. And I think we should have honest conversations, though, about what we're feeling. If you're sad before your father is, you know, during his illness, and you know, then talk about it. I think we have to have honest, wholehearted, heart-to-heart conversations about what we are feeling. We can't hold those feelings in anymore. It doesn't support our own personal evolution here in this world. And if we're going to remain that tapestry, right, that thread of this universal tapestry, then we got to talk about what we're feeling. We got to say what's bothering us so that we can take the steps that we need to take.
I know.
Roland, that's a gift. That's a gift. To two people to talk about someone's passing before they die. I mean, if they are dying, like you said to me before, it is a gift.
Yes.
It's part of the healing process.
You know, it is a gift, but it's not a given. Not everybody has that conversation.
Correct.
You know, last week, one of the things that I do is I visit people that are terminally ill, and I visit them. It's part of one of the programs that I do, and
nice.
I just, or if I can't get to them, then I talk to them on the phone. And it's not a charge for the service. I don't get paid. I just want to do it. I just want to help somebody. And I went to this woman, and she said, you know, I have one question. She said, oh, it's making me very emotional for some reason. She says, I just want to know, do I have a legacy? Will I carry on? Will my kids remember who I am? Will the legacy of who I am carry on? And that struck me. It just struck me when I sat by her bed. This was a week ago. She's since passed. And we had long conversations. And I said to her, did you love your children with every ounce of love that you had? Did you give them everything that you could possibly give them? Did you carry them up the stairs when they couldn't walk? Did you feed them when they couldn't eat? Did you change their diaper when they couldn't do things? Did you help them when they were lost? And did you celebrate their lives? And she took a deep breath and she said, I did. And I said, then you have accomplished everything. Your legacy is in the breath of your children. It's in the breath of your grandchildren. It lives in every moment of time. That's your legacy. But it's not a given. We all just don't talk about it. My mission, one of my missions, to prompt people to talk about it. A lady called me from Chicago. She had been sick with terminal breast cancer. And she says, I got 5 weeks to live. Can I read your book before I go? I said, so I sent her my book. And we talked several days after her reading the book. And she asked the same question. What can I do for my kids so that they're going to be okay? And I said, talk to them. Talk about what you feel. It's okay to tell them you're afraid. It's okay for them to say that they're afraid. But let's just talk about it. Let's get that heavy weight out of our chest and have a conversation so the healing and the love can be the conduit and the vehicle for moving forward. I got to talk about these things.
No, it's true. We've got about 2 minutes left.
Oh, wow.
So I wondered
Sorry.
if there was anything you would like to tell our audience that comes to your mind in these 2 minutes. Anything special you'd like to speak right
Well,
to
you
them?
know, I want you to know that the possibility of love being everlasting is here and now. It's inside of you. It's been inside of you from the very beginning. It's the truth that you are. It's the truth that you shared. I would say love each other today, as we've already said. Live fully invested in this moment, loving each other. And when you're down and out, ask for help. Know that you're not alone. Grief is supported by love, and you're going to make it through whatever it is you're going through. And together, we can make a difference.
That's right.
Thank you.
We should help each other as much as we can
We should.
during the grieving process. Try to understand and just stay open for those messages.
Yeah,
and,
we should.
Believe and have hope.
Believe.
Right, Jimmy?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Believe.
Yeah. More than a baseball or football team. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say believe first, ask later.
Yeah.
Believe
Right.
first, ask later.
Yeah.
See what happens.
You know, and again, I mean, that's the whole thing is trying to get that conscious effort across to people to
Yeah.
believe. You know, it can
It's
be
a
very
tough-
difficult.
It's tough.
And spend that time in the quiet.
Yes.
So you can hear the messages.
You need to be in that frame of mind. You really do. Mine is in the morning, 15 minutes in the morning after
Good.
I get up. With the Yeah,
Whenever we
perfect.
can, we need to do that.
Yep.
Put down those cell phones, computers, telephones, everything, and just be quiet. Well, we've reached the end.
Okay.
It's time to give the contact information. To contact Roland Comtois, it's phone number 401-647-4446, and his email is rcomtoisjr@msn.com. And to learn more information about this show or of any of our past shows, please contact us at healoutsidethebox@yahoo.com, or to reach me, Rosemary Lachance. Your phone number is 203-627-7966, or visit my website, which is www.rosemarylachance.com.
That's good. Or you can talk to me if you really want to. Jimmy Driscoll at driscoll.jimmy@gmail.com.
All right, the quote for tonight, actually I have two. One-liner which says, "Don't grieve. Anything you lose comes around in another form." And that's by Rumney. Okay, he's a famous one. And the quote is, "The reality is that you will grieve forever. You will not get over the loss of a loved one. You will learn to live with it. You will heal, and you will rebuild yourself around the loss you have suffered. You will be whole again, but you will never be the same, nor should you be the same, nor should you want to." And that's by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Okay, thank you for joining us. Thank you,
Thank
Roland.
you so much.
It
I
was so
appreciate
fantastic.
it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside you.